The starship Aurora Dawn moved silently through the dark space around the planet Viratha. Its silver hull reflected the glow of 3 violet suns, making it look like a drifting shard of light. Inside the ship, Earth Ambassador Marcus Hale stood in front of a mirror, adjusting the collar of his formal navy blue uniform. His brown eyes looked calm, but a small knot of tension sat deep in his stomach. This was humanity's first official visit to Viratha, one of the oldest and proudest civilizations in the interstellar concordance. If today went well, Earth could finally gain recognition, protection, and a place among powerful alien nations. If it went badly, well, Marcus did not allow himself to think about that. He took a slow breath. Humanity has worked too hard to reach this point, he whispered to his reflection. Don't mess it up. A soft chime echoed through the room. Ambassador Hale, said the ship's AI in a gentle voice, the Virathan delegation is ready to receive you. Marcus gave a nod, even though the AI did not need one. Thank you. I'm on my way. He walked through the ship's corridor, his footsteps echoing slightly. As he approached the airlock, he saw Commander Rhea Patel waiting for him. She handed him a small data pad with the final briefing. You'll do fine, Rhea said. Just remember, Virathans value respect and order above everything else. Marcus smiled. Let's hope they appreciate honesty, too. Rhea opened the airlock door, and Marcus stepped onto the glowing landing platform. A faint, cool breeze swept over him. The platform floated above a breathtaking city of crystal towers, each one shaped like a twisted spiral reaching for the heavens. The buildings shimmered in blue, green, and white colors, creating a landscape that looked like frozen light. A crowd of Virathans waited ahead. They were tall, slim beings with diamond-like skin that sparkled when the sunlight hit it. Their eyes were large, bright, and full of sharp intelligence. But Marcus's attention was pulled immediately toward one figure who stood at the front. Lady Sylar, a noblewoman of high status. Her crystalline skin had a silver hue, suggesting great power and wealth. Her robes flowed like liquid metal, and she held herself with the confidence of someone who had never been challenged. A Virathan announcer stepped forward and raised a long crystal staff. Presenting the honored guest of the Concordance, the announcer said, his voice ringing like chimes, Ambassador Marcus Hale of Earth. Marcus walked forward with calm steps. He gave a diplomatic bow, following the custom his team had studied for months. Viratha welcomes you, the announcer continued. The High Council greets you with respect. Most Virathans bowed in return, but Lady Sylar did not. Instead, she tilted her head and looked Marcus up and down in a slow, almost bored manner. Then she spoke. Is this the human? She asked, her voice sharp and cold. This small creature is the representative of Earth? A ripple went through the gathered crowd. Marcus heard the whispering. He felt every eye turn toward him, but he kept his face calm. The announcer lowered his staff. The color in his crystal-like skin faded. Lady Sylar, he warned quietly, careful. This is a formal welcome ceremony. She ignored him. Humans, she said loudly, her tone dripping with contempt, are barely more advanced than ground crawlers. Their ships are fragile, their bodies are soft, their history is full of conflict. How can such a species sit among us in the concordance? Her words echoed through the entire plaza. The silence that followed felt heavy, too heavy. Marcus could tell something was wrong. The Virathans were not just shocked. They looked horrified. Some lowered their eyes, while others turned their bodies away as if to avoid being connected to Sylar's insult. Marcus felt the tension in the air change, like a rope pulled too tight. He tried to speak calmly. Lady Sylar, I assure you... But before he could finish, a loud gong rang across the plaza. A group of armored Virathon guards stepped forward, their crystal armor glowing white. They marched directly toward Lady Siler. She frowned. "What is this? I have done nothing." The announcer spoke in a trembling voice. "You have broken the concordant code of hospitality, Lady Siler." Marcus blinked. He had heard of that code in his briefings, but it was described as ancient and sacred, older than most civilizations in the concordance. It demanded absolute respect toward any invited guest, especially a diplomatic one. Violating it was considered nearly unthinkable. The announcer continued, voice firm now. "You insulted a diplomatic visitor before the eyes of the council. You have disgraced Viratha and broken the oldest law of our alliance." The crowd murmured again, but this time in agreement. Lady Sylar's eyes widened. "This is absurd. He is just a—" "Silence!" the announcer snapped, a shocking thing to say to a noble. The lead guard stepped forward. "Lady Siler of the Silver Dominion, you are hereby sentenced to the empty seat." Gasps spread through the plaza. Even Marcus felt chills, though he didn't fully understand yet. Lady Sylar stumbled back as if struck. "No, not that. Anything but that." The guard spoke with ritual clarity. "You are forbidden to sit on any ceremonial council seat, throne, platform, or formal chair until you make proper amends to the dishonored guest, the human ambassador." Marcus was stunned. He had not expected this. He had not wanted this. But he understood something important in that moment. The galaxy took hospitality far more seriously than Earth ever imagined. And now, because of one alien noblewoman's arrogance, his presence had triggered a political earthquake. The moment the guards declared the punishment, the atmosphere around the plaza changed completely. What had been a formal ceremony only moments earlier now felt like a historic event. Virathans who had been silent suddenly began whispering urgently to one another. Their crystal-like skin flickered with nervous light, showing their surprise and confusion. Ambassador Marcus Hale stood in the center, unsure whether to speak or stay quiet. His diplomatic training told him to stay calm, but his instincts told him he had stepped into something far larger than he understood. Lady Sylar, once proud and elegant, now looked stunned. Her silver robe shimmered unevenly, reflecting her suddenly unstable emotions. "This cannot be happening," she whispered fiercely. "The empty seat is for criminals, for traitors." One of the guards stepped closer. "It is for those who break the oldest law of peace," he corrected, "and you did so in front of all Viratha." Marcus lifted his hand carefully. "Maybe we can talk about this later," he said. "This doesn't have to become a big problem." But the announcer shook his head with respect. "Ambassador Hale, the code is older than our cities. It cannot be changed, not even by the High Council." He tapped the base of his crystal staff on the ground. A soft, harmonic tone hummed through the plaza, marking the formal end of the ceremony. "This assembly is concluded," the announcer declared. "The guest will be escorted to the Hall of Concordance. Lady Sylar will be escorted to the standing chamber." Sylar's face tightened. She opened her mouth as if to argue, but closed it again when she saw the firm expressions of the guards. There was no way out. The code held absolute authority. 2 guards guided her away from the platform, making sure she stayed standing. She could walk, but she was not allowed to move toward any chair, bench, or raised seat. Even the floating transport pod provided for her had no place to sit, only a standing platform with support rails. Marcus watched her leave, uncomfortable. He didn't enjoy seeing anyone humiliated, even if they had insulted him. Still, he also understood something important. This wasn't about him personally. It was about a sacred law every species respected, and Lady Sylar had broken it in the worst possible setting. A Virathan diplomat named Lareth, a slender being with green-tinted crystalline skin, stepped toward Marcus and bowed deeply. "Ambassador Hale," Lareth said, "allow me to offer an apology on behalf of the High Council. What happened today was unacceptable. Lady Sylar's behavior was a grave insult not only to you, but to the Concordance itself." Marcus shook his head gently. "You don't have to apologize. I'm the visitor here. I don't want her punished because of me." Lareth smiled sadly. "It is not optional. The code does not protect pride. It protects peace." He motioned for Marcus to follow as several Virathan attendants formed a respectful path toward a large transport platform made of glowing white glass. As Marcus stepped onto the platform, he glanced once more in Sylar's direction. She stood rigidly inside her standing pod, arms crossed tightly, jaw clenched. She looked furious, embarrassed, and confused all at once. Marcus sighed. "This is going to cause a lot of trouble, isn't it?" "Yes," Lareth answered honestly. "But trouble is sometimes the beginning of change." The transport platform carried Marcus across the shining cityscape. Crystal towers rose like frozen lightning bolts, each pulsing with soft light. Airships floated between structures with slow, graceful movements, casting shimmering reflections on the smooth streets below. Marcus found himself looking around with wonder. Even though the situation was stressful, he couldn't deny how beautiful Viratha was. Lareth noticed his expression. "You like our world?" "It's incredible," Marcus said. "Earth has beautiful cities too, but nothing like this." Lareth gave a proud nod. "Our cities are shaped by ancient energy flows and designed to reflect harmony, but even a harmonious world can have proud minds." Marcus smiled slightly. We humans understand that too. They soon reached a grand white structure shaped like a blooming crystal flower, the Hall of Concordance. Wide, glowing steps led toward a massive entrance framed by floating sigils and swirling patterns of light. Virathan diplomats awaited them inside. The hall was enormous, with high ceilings made of translucent stone that allowed sunlight to pass through like gentle fire. Rows of seats, floating platforms shaped like smooth gems, lined the walls. Every one of them glowed faintly. Marcus noticed something immediately. One seat remained dark, its glow extinguished. It seemed cold, empty, abandoned. Lareth followed his gaze. That, he said quietly, was Lady Siler's council seat. Marcus raised his eyebrows. They dimmed her chair? Lareth nodded. By tradition, once a noble or diplomat breaks the code, their seat loses its light. It cannot be restored until they complete their atonement. What exactly is the punishment? Marcus asked carefully. It can't just be not sitting. Oh, it is exactly that, Lareth replied. But on Viratha, seats represent power, rank, honor. You have to understand, every important event, every council meeting, every ceremony involves formal seating. And she can't sit in any of them? Not a single one, Lareth confirmed. She must stand for all meetings, speeches, and gatherings. She must attend sessions that last hours, sometimes full days. Marcus looked around at the hall's many seats. Some floated high, others low, arranged according to rank. How long does this usually last? He asked. That depends, Lareth said. Until she apologizes directly to the person she insulted, or until the council decides she has shown true humility. Marcus scratched his head. So you're telling me she has to apologize to me personally before she can sit again? Yes, Lareth said, and knowing Lady Siler's pride, that may take a very long time. Marcus let out a slow breath. He suddenly understood why Siler looked terrified. This punishment wasn't physical. It wasn't violent. It wasn't cruel. But for someone of her rank and status, it was deeply humiliating. A wound to her pride. A permanent reminder seen by every member of Virathan society. And all because she insulted a human. Marcus wasn't sure whether to feel empowered or deeply uncomfortable. Maybe both. As Lareth guided him toward the center of the hall, Marcus realized one thing with absolute clarity. Humanity had entered the concordance in the most dramatic way possible, and the consequences of today's insult were only beginning. The Hall of Concordance buzzed with quiet energy the next morning. Sunlight passed through the crystal ceiling, scattering shimmering patterns across the floor like dancing stars. Delegates from dozens of alien worlds filled their glowing seats. Some floated on platforms of glass. Some rested on soft spheres of light. A few even hovered using their own natural abilities. Only one diplomat stood. Lady Cielar. She stood stiffly near the edge of the hall, her silver robe flowing around her like liquid metal. Her jaw was tight, her eyes narrowed. Every minute that passed reminded her of the humiliation she carried. The empty seat punishment was doing its work, slowly wearing down her pride. Marcus Hale watched her from across the hall. He didn't enjoy seeing anyone embarrassed, but he also couldn't deny he was curious. How long would she remain stubborn? How long until she admitted she was wrong? He turned his attention back to the council. Today was important. This was humanity's chance to prove its worth, not through pride, but through ability. Loreth walked beside Marcus, guiding him to the center speaking platform. "Are you ready, Ambassador?" the Verithan diplomat asked gently. Marcus nodded. "As ready as I can be, I hope they understand what I'm trying to show." "They will," Lareth said confidently. "Your demonstration is unique. The Concordance values anything that improves peace." Marcus swallowed his nerves and stepped onto the glowing platform. Light lifted him slightly, raising him above the crowd so every species could see him clearly. The hall quieted. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. "The Concordance recognizes Ambassador Marcus Hale of Earth." Marcus took a breath. "Thank you, honored delegates. Today I want to show you something my team on Earth created, something that can help every world in this hall." He raised a small device, a simple black tablet. Compared to the elegant crystal-based technology of the Concordance, it looked plain, almost primitive. Some alien delegates exchanged doubtful glances. Lady Cielar snorted softly. Even standing, she found a way to show her contempt. Marcus chose to ignore it. He tapped the tablet. A holographic projection burst upward, shimmering shapes, colors, and waves of light forming a spinning globe. Then several more globes, then star maps. A murmur spread across the hall. "This," Marcus said, "is the Harmony Mapper. It is a human-designed AI that studies history, politics, trade routes, cultural behavior, and environmental factors. Using all this data, it predicts possible conflicts before they happen." The hall grew even quieter. "It can show where a disagreement between two worlds might lead to larger problems. It can warn when trade shortages might turn into border tension. It can even identify misunderstandings caused by cultural differences before they grow into something worse." The hologram shifted. Red lines appeared between two alien worlds, then orange, then yellow, then green, showing peaceful resolution paths. Marcus pointed. "This simulation shows a dispute between the Tahreen and the Ulori. The AI predicted it 5 months before either species noticed signs of tension." Several delegates leaned forward. Marcus continued, his voice steady. "Our goal was not to control anyone. It was to create something that helps everyone stay safe, something that helps avoid war before it begins." He tapped again. The hologram zoomed out, showing clusters of stars and glowing markers. "This is a model of what the Harmony Mapper could do for the entire Concordance. It could be used in discussions, peacekeeping missions, and crisis prevention." Even from across the hall, Marcus noticed Cielar's expression shift. Her irritation faded slightly. She couldn't deny the impressive technology being displayed. A representative from the scaled Draxian species spoke up. "Ambassador Hale, how did your world create such a tool?" Marcus smiled. "With cooperation. Humans argued a lot in the past. We fought. We disagreed. We made mistakes. But we also learned something important. The best way to prevent conflict is to understand it. Another delegate nodded. Your species has grown quickly, faster than most. Marcus nodded. We had no choice. Our world is full of different cultures and beliefs. If we didn't learn to cooperate, we wouldn't have survived. The hall remained silent, absorbing his words. Marcus tapped the device one last time. The hologram dimmed and vanished. Humanity isn't asking to lead the concordance, he said simply. We only want a chance to contribute, to help build a safer future for everyone. Lareth gave a proud smile. For the first time, Marcus felt he truly belonged here, not as an outsider, but as someone who could offer something valuable. On the far side of the hall, Lady Sylar shifted her weight. She had been standing for over an hour now. Her legs ached, her back stiffened, and worst of all, her pride throbbed like a fresh bruise. She watched Marcus with narrowed eyes. She expected humans to be clumsy, loud, or arrogant. But this human spoke calmly, thoughtfully, and without bragging. He didn't demand respect, he earned it. It bothered her more than she wanted to admit. As Marcus stepped off the speaking platform, the hall erupted in soft applause. Glowing lights pulsing from seats, a sign of approval among Virathons and other species. Sylar's own seat remained dark behind her. A reminder, a punishment, a message. She clenched her jaw. How can this human change so much in one day? She thought. Yet she knew the answer. Because humans, unlike many proud old civilizations, weren't afraid to grow. After the session ended, Marcus joined Lareth on a balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons had risen, casting a soft blue glow over the crystal towers. You did well, Lareth said. Many delegates were impressed, and more importantly, curious. Marcus leaned on the railing. Do you think this will help Earth join the concordance? It is a strong beginning, Lareth replied, but there will be more challenges. Marcus sighed. Including Lady Sylar, I assume? Lareth nodded slowly. Her pride is strong, but even she cannot ignore what she saw today. The question is, when will she accept the truth and ask your forgiveness? Marcus looked back at the glowing hall. Whenever she's ready, he murmured. He didn't know it yet, but today's demonstration had started something powerful, something that would change not just Viratha, but the entire concordance. And Lady Sylar's journey toward humility had only just begun. The next morning on Viratha was unusually quiet. A soft mist hung between the tall crystal towers, glowing faintly as the suns began to rise. Most diplomats were preparing for another long session in the Hall of Concordance, but one person was preparing for one of the most uncomfortable days of her life. Lady Seiler stood in her private chamber, refusing to make eye contact with her servants as they arranged her silver robes. She kept her posture straight, her expression firm, but inside she felt restless. A noblewoman of her status was never supposed to feel restless. Yet she did. Because today, just like yesterday, she would be forced to stand in every meeting. No seat, no rest, no symbol of power. Her pride, once strong as shining steel, felt like it was cracking. "Lady Sylar," her assistant whispered, "the session begins in 1 hour. Shall we prepare the standing pod for transport?" She hated that name, standing pod. Before the punishment, her transport vehicle had been elegant and comfortable, with a cushioned floating seat fit for a noble. Now it was an empty pod with rails for balance, purposely designed to keep her standing. "Prepare it," Seiler said coolly, though her voice trembled just a little. When the assistant left, Seiler exhaled slowly. Her legs were still sore from yesterday's long council session. Her back hurt, even her pride hurt, and that human, Marcus Hale, stood in her mind like an unsettling memory. His calm voice, his strange confidence, his unexpected intelligence. She had called him a ground crawler, yet he had stood before the entire concordance and impressed them all. "Why?" she muttered to herself. "How can a human, a simple human, carry himself like that?" She reached for her wrist console and tapped it. A small hologram appeared, replaying Marcus's presentation from the previous day. She intended to watch it with cold analysis, to find flaws, to prove to herself that humans were inferior. But as the hologram played, she felt the same quiet surprise she felt yesterday. The harmony mapper was brilliant, simple but powerful, a tool that could prevent war. And this human had presented it without arrogance. Sylar's shoulders loosened slightly. She didn't like what she was thinking. She didn't like that her first impression of Marcus might have been wrong. Her pride whispered, "You don't need to change your mind." Her conscience whispered back, "But what if you were wrong?" She shook the thought away and walked to her standing pod. In the Hall of Concordance, Marcus Hale waited as delegates took their seats. He noticed Seiler enter with 2 guards behind her. Her walk was stiff, but her face held an unreadable expression. She stood at the far side of the hall, back straight, arms crossed behind her. It looked uncomfortable. Marcus didn't know whether he should feel sympathy or keep his distance. He didn't want her punished for something as simple as insulting a human. But he also knew that interfering with the code could cause political chaos. Lareth approached him. "You did not sleep well?" the Virathan diplomat asked. Marcus chuckled softly. "That obvious? You were pacing your guest quarters at midnight. Our sensors heard every step." Marcus groaned. "Great, so even my nervous pacing is recorded." Lareth laughed quietly. "You worry too much. Today's session will discuss your AI in detail. Many delegates want to speak with you." Marcus nodded. "That's good. I want them to understand how humans can help." Before the session began, a faint melody echoed through the hall, a traditional signal that the meeting was about to start. Delegates straightened in their seats. Lady Seiler prepared herself for another long period of standing. But as the first discussion began, something unexpected happened. Seiler raised her hand. The entire hall fell silent. A noble under punishment was not forbidden from speaking, but it was rare for someone in Seiler's situation to participate. Many delegates stared. A few whispered. Marcus turned his head slightly, curious. The council elder nodded. "Lady Seiler may speak." Seiler stepped forward. Her posture firm, but her voice more controlled than usual. I wish to make a statement, she began. Her words were clear, steady. Yesterday, we witnessed technology created by the human ambassador that has the potential to strengthen peace across the concordance. Marcus blinked in surprise. Siler continued. I did not expect such capability from a human. My earlier judgment was premature. A low hum of surprise filled the hall. Many Virathons exchanged glances. Lareth's crystal-like skin glowed with approval. Marcus felt a strange warmth in his chest. Was she admitting she was wrong? Siler, the proud noble. This was unexpected. She took a breath and added, I request that the Council examine the Harmony Mapper with full seriousness. It may improve our diplomatic stability and foresee problems before they escalate. Another ripple of surprise went through the hall. Marcus studied her carefully. Siler's expression held no arrogance this time. For the first time since he arrived on Viratha, she spoke with genuine respect, if not toward him, then toward humanity's work. The elder counselor nodded slowly. Your request will be honored, and your words will be remembered. Sylar bowed her head slightly and returned to her standing place. Her legs trembled a little. She ignored the discomfort. Marcus leaned toward Lareth. She's changing. Lareth smiled. Every species has its proud ones, but pride is not unbreakable. The empty seat teaches humility, but your actions taught her something stronger. What's that? Marcus asked. That humans are not what she believed. Marcus looked at Sylar again. She stood tall, still holding on to her remaining pride, but something in her posture had softened. She didn't glare at him. She didn't ignore him. She simply watched with a thoughtful expression. After the meeting ended, Marcus headed toward the balcony for fresh air. He wasn't expecting anyone to follow him, but footsteps approached. He turned. Lady Sylar stood there, her robe shimmering in the afternoon light. She looked uncomfortable, not physically, but emotionally. It was clear she wasn't used to speaking humbly. Ambassador Hale, she said quietly, I wish to speak to you. Marcus nodded slowly. Of course. She hesitated. I still stand by my belief that Viratha is a superior civilization. But I may have been wrong about humans. Marcus smiled softly. I appreciate that. Humans surprise people sometimes. Sylar looked away. I am beginning to see that. There was no apology yet. She was not ready for that final step. But this was something else. Something small but important. It was the first crack in the wall of her pride. And for Marcus, it was enough. As Sylar left, Marcus watched her go with quiet optimism. The journey toward understanding had begun. And the empty seat was slowly doing its work, not by force, but by opening a proud mind to a new truth.